Welcome to CEC Gurukul lecture. In continuation with the series on economic sociology, in today's lecture we are going to discuss on the platform society. Now the platform society is basically the construction of network relations because of the growing technology and information communication. So we'll try to understand what we understand by platform society and what repercussion does this have on terms of social structures and social relations. So we know that today we are living in a sharing economy, the platform revolution, the gig economy, the disruptive innovation. There are several terms which have been used to explain the growing influence of social media, internet and the technology on social relations. Rather, we see that today we are surrounded by web of all these relations. It is therefore called as a sharing economy or the gig economy. So the rise of the digital platforms is hailed as the driver of economic progress and technological innovation. Today, we are slowly coming to terms with the fact that online platforms are practically becoming more effective than public institutions in organizing and structuring our public and private lives. So we know that everything is possible on the online platform. We can attend classes, we can interact. So even in terms of kind of having family relations, there can be online video calls. Rather, with the COVID, internet and social media became the way of organizing private life. Marriages were held, months were chanted, even death rituals were done online. Therefore, it becomes very important to understand where this revolution is taking us. So the promise of platform is such that they offer personalized services and contribute to innovation and economic growth by bypassing tedious regulations and unnecessary expenses. So if you were to have a degree online from say Harvard or New York, you don't have to travel. So your cost on traveling will be saved. It becomes a little less expensive than on offline course. So we here in today's lecture are going to refer to this interesting book, The Platform Society, Public Values in a Connective World. The authors, Jos van Dijk, Thomas Poyle and Martin Dowey, are of the view that platforms have penetrated the heart of societies, affecting institutions, economic transactions and social and cultural practices, hence forcing governments and state to adjust their legal and democratic structure. So it is the dominating institutions or it is the dominating way of life in contemporary times. So what is this concept of platform society? It is basically a very nuanced perspective. The focus is on the role of the digital platform in a society. So the term platform society is used in reference to a social life in which social and economic flows are increasingly modulated by a globalized ecosystem of online platform that is driven by algorithm and fueled by data. It suggests that platforms are deeply integrated with societal structures. Platforms are not just economic or technological phenomena. They have profound social and cultural implication. They merge with and transform existing institutions, economic transactions and practices, thus influencing the organization of democratic society. That is why we prefer the term platform, a term that emphasizes the inextricable relationship between online platform and societal structure which they produce, and therefore the phrase the platform society. So we are interacting across the platform. We are kind of doing all kind of transaction, economic transaction, cultural transaction, political transaction via the internet. The platform is and it is kind of affecting the relation. Now when we understand platform and we say it is giving us individualized services, what is important is to understand the whether it is a private gain or a public gain. So if I am able to kind of book a cab and able to reach a destination on my own, is it my personal gain or does it also have a collective outcome? So, when we look into the private versus public gain, we see that the platform society does not merely shift the focus from the economic to the social, but the term also refers to a profound dispute about the private gain versus public benefit. For instance, while they provide personalized benefits and economic gain, they put pressure on collective means and public services. So, the example that I use, that if I book a cab to reach a destination of my office, it is my public gain, but then there would be many who would be using individualized car services, cab services, which will then put the pressure on the traffic, and there would be a likelihood of not utilizing the public services. So, there is a private gain at a level where public services are being affected. So, though the platform society has a connective quality, they connect everybody, it's network, the qualities do not automatically translate into public values. Then we also have the idea of the issue of privacy, and in this book the authors are making reference to Airbnb, which is kind of a hospitality service, and here the privacy have been a bone contention between the platform owners, state regulators, watchdog organization, etc. The authors refer to the case of Airbnb to highlight the stakes the platform society, and it is a contested notion. It is not kind of a very simple that yes, there is a increased network and it is kind of being all advantages. There are certain disadvantages, and many a time there is a conflict of interest, and that is why the authors are referring to the platform society as a contested notion. They suggest that platforms cannot be studied in isolation. They are interdependent on a global infrastructure which is governed by power relationship, and not just market power but state power as well. So, your operation of these services has to be regulated by the government. So, this case of Airbnb, since its launch in 2007, Airbnb has rapidly become the market leader in online hospitality services, allowing people to rent out their private spaces. The benefits are evident. Locals can earn significant income and tourism dollars boost the local economy. However, this popularity has also brought problems. Complaints about garbage, noise, unruly tourists have grown along with safety concern. So, Airbnb's model challenges local regulation. So, at one level it has eased out the chances of renting out and boost the tourist industry, but on the other side, because it kind of becomes it becomes more affordable, the number of tourists increases, the local economy gets affected, in the sense there would be lot of kind of safety concerns, there could be lot of violence affected to it. So, there are other than the economic factor, there could be social cultural problems arising from this. Since the early 2000, 5 major tech companies, Alphabet, which is Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and the Microsoft, have become to dominate the online ecosystem. These companies control key information services and platforms that are central to how people interact online. This centralization of power has created a networked platform ecosystem where a few corporations control crucial nodes of information services. Now, the authors kind of tells us about the different types of platforms, and here they are making reference to 2 types, the infrastructural and sectoral. So, the platforms are technological, economic, social, cultural configuration rather than being merely technical devices that facilitate various kinds of user interaction. The platform as a programmable digital architecture designed to organize interaction between users and suggest 2 categorical types, infrastructural and sectoral. The majority of infrastructural platforms are owned and operated by the Big Five. The Big Five are Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, which are altogether abbreviated as GAFAM. These are the key dominant digital platform because a larger population kind of interact through these platforms. Now, these Big Five provide the structural backbone of the platform ecosystem upon which many platform and applications can be established. Now, infrastructural services include search engines and browsers, data servers and cloud computing, email, ad network, social network, app stores, payment system, identification system, geographical information and navigation services. So, we know where there are n number of online applications which are available in order to provide us different kinds of services. Sectoral platforms seamlessly integrate into this structural backbone and cater to a specific sector or niche such as news, transportation, finance and hospitality. These can be exemplified as Yahoo News, Uber, Coursera and Airbnb. So, basically they are certain which is helping the user to have facilitate the access to infrastructure, and the second type is certain kind of sectors like hospitality, news, information. So, some of these platforms do not have tangible assets or sector specific employees and do not provide concrete products, content or services such as booking.com. They merely connect individual user to a single provider. Van de Zek, Poyle and Dawal, the authors of this book, The Platform Society, suggest that the difference between infrastructural and sectoral platform is not fixed or determined, and there is a constant dynamic between them that leads to integration. The authors present us with the fact that infrastructural platforms which are owned and operated by the Big Five companies have also become major operators of sectoral platform through various kinds of alliances such as ownership and other kind of business partnership. And they penetrate every domain of social life and economic life, regardless of the nature of the domain, whether it is a commercial sector, private sector, government sector, non-public or non-profit sector, while bypassing local and national institutions. So, how do these Big Five operate? We need to understand that these are big giant companies and having almost a dominant control over the other. So, the authors are now trying to understand the modes of operation of the platform. So, the Big Five companies, the subsidiaries, the symbionts and other interconnected devices in such an ecosystem govern the society through their platform. How do the platform work? The authors identify three mechanisms that are shared by all the platform in this ecosystem, which represents crucial processes for their operation. And these three processes of the functioning of the platforms are datafication, commodification and selection. So, we will understand what we mean by datafication and commodification. Datafication refers to every activity that is translated into data and that can be processed by algorithm into new kinds of social and economic value. Not only discretely quantifiable interaction such as what you buy, but also the semantic context and relations, what you like or even may like. So, many a time when we are shopping on an online platform, we see that we kind of select a dress for buying, and very soon we get a number of suggestions by the platform related to our taste. So, that is the datafication. It is kind of collecting the data on the taste and the likes of the customer, and then kind of creating a category of commodities suiting the taste of the consumer. So, the authors deploy the concept of commodification to refer to the platform's ability to transform online and offline object activities, emotions and ideas into tradable commodities. and it is the key to the governance and business models of platforms. The third process of the operation of this platform is selection. Selection is defined in the book as the ability of platform to trigger and filter user activity through interfaces and algorithm, while user through the interaction with these coded environments influence the online visibility and availability of particular content, service and people. Platforms substituted expert based selection such as the place to stay while on vacation advised by a travel guide, while user driven or algorithm selection processes and regulate the user's activities by selecting or curating most relevant topics, terms, actors, object, offers, services, etc. So, we have tried to understand the process of operation of the platform. The next, the author talks about 4 important sectors where the platform economy has made an important impact, and these are news media, urban transport, health and education. The author analysis revealed that the big 5 companies infiltrate and penetrate all these 4 sectors and tend to act as gatekeepers to almost all social, economic and cultural activity, including our personal economic sphere. Thus, the authors maintain that platform society emerges as a global social form that is dependent on these infrastructural platforms. Next, what the author are talking about is that in the operation of these platforms, there are multitude of agencies which are involved. Though there are these 5 big tech companies, but they are not the only player. There are other players in the ecosystem, and the platform ecosystem is not only open to new formations such as the incorporation of traditional media outlet into platforms or the exploitation into of the platform datafication, commodification and selection capacities by political interest, but it is also composed of a multitude of agencies such as individual, entrepreneurs, government, incumbent and enterprises. Now, when we talk about the platform society and we talk about the public versus the private gain, it is important to understand the issue of transparency and privacy, because it is also kind of collecting the data from the individual while providing these services. So, how do we protect the question of transparency and privacy? These actors' inclination to protect their own interest instead of protecting civil values and public interest at large cause conflict among themselves, which ultimately hinder these platforms' potential for social, economic and political influence. The authors point out that the users are usually concerned with safety, transparency, accuracy and privacy issue in their relation to the platform. They wish their connections to be secure. They desire to know how the information they receive is being collected. They want the information to be accurate, and in return, they demand the information they disclose to the platform to remain private. However, Van Dyck, Poyle and they well assert that there are other sets of values such as public goods, fairness, social responsibility, democratic control, which becomes harder to protect in the platform society, since such values are neither integral to the economic logic of the platform, nor can they be inscribed into algorithm processes they operate through. So, the privacy and transparency are still kind of protected, but when it comes to the public value, it becomes more debatable. Now, we have understood what are platform society, how they are being classified, the modes of operation. What is interesting in this book is that the authors are pointing out at the system of contradiction. And what are these contradictions? Number one, it appears egalitarian by providing widespread access, yet it is deeply hierarchical with control concentrated over the big 5. These companies seem to serve public interest by offering valuable services, but they are driven by profit motives. Number 2, They present themselves as neutral tools for users, yet their architecture embodies specific ideological values. Number 3, the influence appears local, affecting individual users directly, but their reach and impact are global. They promote users' empowerment through bottom up engagement, but maintain highly centralized and opaque control structure. It is almost entirely corporate, but appears to serve public value. So, when we look into these contradictions, we see that after all, the platform society is part of the capitalist, neoliberal capitalist economy, which kind of makes a sense to increase the profit level, even though they are kind of giving more and more preference to the private users and trying to get more in terms of the network that they have created. So, we are trying to understand the platform society which has been created. Everything that we do are connected to the internet, and we need to kind of create a network and understand the impact of technology on our life. We come to an end of this lecture. Thank you.